check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
The Moto G series has long been a way to get a solid, reliable phone at a low price. Motorola just took the wraps off a refresh of the series in the form of the 2021 Moto G Play, Moto G Power, and Moto G Stylus. The Moto G Power, however, is really the option to go for, considering its no-frills approach and stripped-back software. The new device is also very inexpensive. At $200 for the entry-level model, the Moto G Power is perfect for those who may not want to spend more than a few $100 on a phone that should still last a few years or so. That's not to mention its stellar battery and stripped-back software experience. I've been using the Moto G Power for a while now to see just how it stacks up against the competition. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps support my work and I would appreciate that support. The Moto G Power may be an inexpensive device, but it still has a generally modern design with an edge-to-edge display and a hole-punch cutout for the front-facing camera. There's a small chin on the bottom, but it's not really that intrusive, and you'll get used to it. On the back, there's a centered camera bump for the rear-facing camera, and a plastic back, which doesn't look or feel as premium as glass, but should still be a little more durable. On the top, there's a headphone jack, while on the bottom you'll get a USB-C port. On the right side, there's a fingerprint sensor in the power button, and it works pretty well. It's fast and responsive, and while you will have to get used to aligning your finger on it every time you use your phone, you'll get used to it eventually. The display on the phone is really only fine. It's a 6.6-inch 720p display, and colors can look a little muted. It does the job for most, and the lower resolution does help make for a better battery life. But if you're looking for something to watch movies on or something like that, you may not get the best experience. The phone isn't the thinnest out there, but it doesn't feel overly chunky, despite the huge battery under the hood. Speaking of internals, the Moto G Power is built with a Qualcomm Snapdragon 662 processor, coupled with 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage in the base model, and 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage in the $250 model. I recommend going for the $250 model if possible, considering that extra storage. 32GB isn't really enough these days, and you're likely to fill it up pretty quick. The specs in general seem to be a slight step back compared to last year's Moto G Power, which came with a Snapdragon 665 processor. They score similar results in benchmarks, and of course the new model is a little cheaper, which helps lighten the blow. One thing that is really frustrating to see is that Motorola still hasn't added NFC support to the Moto G line. That means no Google Pay on the device. It's overdue that the Moto G gets this feature, and I hope to see it in the next generation. Despite the scaled back specs, the phone performed fine in day-to-day use, and even in some mobile gaming and more intense multitasking. Games like Call of Duty Mobile work perfectly well, while more intense games like Asphalt 9 can suffer the occasional stutter, but still seem to work perfectly fine. This likely partly has to do with the lower resolution display making gaming a little easier on the processor. As you might expect from a phone with the word power in its name, the Moto G Power comes with a huge battery, sitting in at 5,000 mAh capacity. That equates to well over 2 days of even moderate use, and some light users might even be able to stretch to 3 days. That's very impressive. The phone, unfortunately, does not have wireless charging, though considering the excellent battery life, it doesn't matter as much. The camera on the phone is really pretty mediocre. The Moto G Power comes with a triple lens camera, with one 48-megapixel main sensor, one 2-megapixel macro lens, and one 2-megapixel depth sensor. There's no telephoto or ultra-wide lenses here, which is a little frustrating to see, especially considering the fact that the macro sensor is so limited in functionality, and doesn't really deliver photos that are all that good. The main sensor, which has an effective output of 12 megapixels with Motorola's quad pixel tech, can deliver decent photos in well-lit environments, but they're still pretty boring with dull colors and not much detail. If mobile photography is really important to you, then the Moto G Power probably shouldn't be your top choice. Another reason to love Motorola phones is the stripped-back software experience. Motorola offers a near-stock software through MyUX, and the result is that it's sleek and easy to navigate. Some prefer a more complicated layout, like what Samsung offers through One UI, but I tend to prefer a more minimalistic approach. And Motorola has included some extra features through the Moto app, including some handy gestures and the ability to tweak settings while gaming. The downside is that Motorola is pretty terrible at offering good updates right now. The phone ships with Android 10, which is the last generation version of Android, and while Motorola says it will get Android 11, it hasn't said when. And that's where it ends, so you're effectively getting one Android update to a version of Android that's already available. You will get security updates for longer, but I'm really disappointed to see Motorola be so terrible at operating system updates, and I hope it improves in the future. So, is the Moto G Power the phone for you? Well, it depends. The phone is solid, to be sure, and if you have a budget of $250 or less, then it's probably the best device to go for now. If you can stretch your budget to $350, however, I would recommend doing so, as the Pixel 4a will deliver better performance, a much better camera, even smoother software, and a better display. That said, of course, you have to pay more to get it, and if you simply want a device for some light texting and calling, the odd basic gaming, and social media, then the Moto G Power is a great phone, especially considering its awesome battery life. You can get the Moto G Power for yourself using the links in the description. Thanks so much for watching this video, and again, please hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. My name is Christian, and I'll see you next time. See ya.